Here we go. Go for it.
Okay, let's begin. Welcome to the May 12th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Southampton Conservation Board. In accordance with the governor's executive orders, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference until further notice. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website. If you do not wish to speak at the live meeting, but you would like to submit comments for the public record, the link to submit comments can also be found on the town's website. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Also, as a reminder, we ask that applicants and their agents please state their name and address for the record. Please join me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all. And now, as customary, we'll do the roll call. I'll start. Harry is present. Jerry?
Present.
Michael?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Ann?
Here.
First on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of April 28th. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
Public hearings, A019099, Michael McLarney and Emily McLarney. The applicant requests an adjournment to 6/23/21.
What's the reason for the adjournment?
This was last discussed on 10/9/19.
A long time ago.
As a consequence of the last hearing date, the town attorney's office had advised the applicant that this would be the final hearing date, and that they needed to appear as the hearing was going to be closed on this date. So the agent for the applicant was so informed. However, the new attorney for the applicant only just received notice of such, and has asked that the hearing be adjourned so that she has sufficient time to review the record and prepare for the hearing.
How long has she been on the case?
Kelly, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Let's see. You're saying she, the person that I talked to was Brian Matthews.
Oh, I'm
from
sorry.
Matthews
I'm
Cooley.
sorry. I thought you said that she wanted to review the case. Okay, so being the agent, new agent?
It's an attorney, Brian Matthews from Matthews Kirsten Cooley. Apparently they were retained shortly before the meeting of March 24th. And they did not receive the letter that our office sent because we did not know that they had represented the applicant at that time. We sent the letter to the agent and the agent did not provide the letter to their office. I did speak with Mr. Matthews. He said that he believes that the issues with this property can be resolved, but he was not prepared to appear tonight and he did not want to appear and be unprepared because that wouldn't be beneficial to anybody. But he did indicate that he would be ready to proceed on June 23rd.
I'm not sympathetic.
No, why don't we just close it and they
They
can
can
reply.
Reapply with what they really want to do, not this BS for a year and a half.
Yeah, let them get up to speed and reapply.
Sorry.
I'm with you.
On this application, there are, as I recall, there are some violations that need to be corrected
So report them to code enforcement.
so that closing the hearing obviously will not correct those items. And they'll need to, they need to have a process to get back to us.
Now,
It
there's a
could
process.
delay. Bri-
Now,
That's what the process is there for.
Harry, are the correction of any of these violations time sensitive?
apparently not, since the last time we heard this case was in 2019.
Okay,
They have to do with, they want to do something with a driveway, and there's some closeness to the wetlands there. And there's some issue of the buffer. I believe that's infringed upon in a couple of places. It's,
Confused as to why we couldn't just refer it to code enforcement to be.
it doesn't seem like it's a very complicated application, which surprises me because it's been 2 years.
Who knows? Maybe
More than 2 years.
they're gonna come up with something different, you know? If they've been blowing it off. I mean, we're kicking the can down the road one way, we're kicking the can down the road the other way.
Close the hearing, let them reapply.
Yeah. I agree.
Then it gets noted, noticed, neighbors get noticed again.
Um,
And neighbors might have moved that was on the original application 2 years ago. So then they're gonna drag it out, and then the new neighbors aren't gonna get to hear this application. They're not gonna be noticed on it.
Well, I can think of arguments on both sides of this issue to adjourn it for one more time for the new attorney, because he hadn't apparently had sufficient time to prepare for the case.
From March until
But-
May,
Well,
he
it was.
conferred with them before he took them on as a client.
Plus, we made a condition. We sent the letter saying that she should have forwarded that letter to her attorney immediately. That it doesn't have to go to the attorney. The property owner the applicant got it. And if we're gonna say we're gonna do something and then we don't do it, that's not good.
Kelly, who did you send the letter to?
The applicant's agent, who is listed on the application, Jeff Ulysses, I believe.
And
We know Jeff. Jeff knows our theory. He knows our procedure.
is
He's been here
Jeff,
before.
is Jeff still the agent?
He's still listed as the agent on the application. That has not changed.
It's
Okay,
not his first
then-
rodeo with us.
Then I'm not going to make a strong argument to adjourn. I think it's time to fish or cut bait.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Before we do that, I have to ask, is anyone in the public like to speak in this application?
Oh, yeah.
Charles, is anybody raising their hand?
I have no hands.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
second again.
All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
aye.
Michael? Michael? Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
A 01910.
That
Oh,
was me, Harry.
George, sorry,
I'm here.
I see you. I just see a silhouette. I'm sure you look better than that.
I don't know. I'm behind the screen.
So, George, you voted aye, correct?
I did, yes.
Okay. Okay, now I'll introduce the next application, A 019100, the Colonel's Way LLC. And Charles, I'm sure you have some people you want to bring in. Suzanne is here. Is John coming too?
It's on deck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know he's in the audience.
Who's there?
He's in, oh, there he is. Okay.
Okay. And Susanna, do you expect anyone else from your team?
No, I don't believe so. So
Okay.
if you're ready, I'll share my screen and,
Sure, this is an application that we've seen, I guess in rapid succession, the last couple of meetings to get it finalized because it's been very close. And the last time we met, there was some talk about the porch being reduced in size. So Suzanne, if you would explain what you're doing now.
okay, so at the last hearing, I feel like the last item that we needed to address was that there were a couple of board members at least who felt that the porch was too large. So let me zoom in. So we've reduced the square footage again of the porch. It's now, we took 2 feet off of the length of it. So now it's 11 by 16. It was 13 by 16. So as a result, these steps are reduced. The additional revegetation has been added here to pull that in to keep that separation there. And so it's now really the minimum size that's really usable for the site. As I said at the last meeting, the family really, the porch, screened-in porch is very important to them. That's where they spend most of their time at their current residence and will want to be on that porch. So we feel that this is a very reasonable further reduction, and that's really as far as we want to go with the porch. Someone had asked whether it would be on a foundation with, poured concrete. It will not. It will be basically a decking type foundation that'll be constructed on. So it is a porch. It will be screened in. There's a little fireplace that serves inside the living room and out on the porch as an exterior fireplace as well. So that's all I really have that's new. Just as a reminder, we have reduced the size of the house at the last meeting to 832 square feet, which is equal to the existing square footage of the existing one-story house. So overall, we've had a reduction in the size of the proposed house, which was originally 1,136 with 380 square foot of porches, to our current proposal, which is an 832 square foot house, and the porch is now 176 square feet. So that's a reduction in coverage of impervious coverage of from 1143 to 1,000 square feet, 1,008 square feet coverage with roof structures. Just a reminder, we're removing a pretty large boathouse that's on the property that's actually in the wetlands. We're removing the shed as well, and keeping the house the same size as the existing house.
Thank you, Susanna. Now, one of the things that historically the board has been concerned about with porches is their ease to be converted into living space. But it's my recollection that the applicant offered to covenant that porch so that it could not be changed into a living area.
Absolutely. There's
confirm
no
that?
intention to do that. There's no real outdoor hangout space on this property. So they have no intention to ever enclose this. This is intended to be porch.
Okay. I think you've done a really great job on this application. It is a very difficult place to build a house and not have significant impacts. And I think you've done a lot of great things to minimize those impacts. And the IA system across the street is a big one.
And the parking across the street as
And the
well.
parking across,
Yes.
everything across the street.
So yeah, we've done, I can go through the mitigation again if needed, but I don't want to.
I don't think it's needed. The board, I think, is familiar with this. I want to hear from board members. I'm thinking that we're doing, there's not much left here to work with. It's reduced in size to a great extent. Lots of mitigation. We're required, the applicant has a constitutional right to build a house. So our job is to manage that design and that size and location in a way that minimizes the environmental impacts according to Chapter 325. I think we're there. What I want to hear are the board members, and then we'll be ready to vote.
Harry,
Yes,
I concur. I'm very pleased with the final result. The porch has been reduced. They're going to covenant that it will not be turned into living space, and I'm completely okay with it.
Me too.
I'm fine with it as well, as long as that porch area is coveted as not to be living space, then I'm good.
I'm looking to close the hearing until I hear from Michael.
I'm fine with it.
is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak on this application?
Motion to close.
Second,
Second,
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye,
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
aye.
George.
aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all of your input and your attention to detail. We really do appreciate it. I'm sure I speak for John as well. He was really appreciative of all the time that staff and the board have put into to working on this with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Susanna.
yes, thank you.
Welcome.
The
Oh,
next,
I know. I'm sorry. No, did you get a visual? Was I on video?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I want to thank the board as well. You know, it was a very challenging site and some real good input. And so your work and feedback is much appreciated.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
okay, we can take your screen down, Susanna.
I got it.
Okay. And the next application is A020028, Erica Wymere. And the applicant requests an adjournment to July 14th, 2021. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this application?
Motion to adjourn to 7/14/21.
Second.
Second,
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye,
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
aye.
George.
Aye.
George, your camera not working?
I don't know.
Push video.
Or do you just look hideous?
Let me see if I can help.
Look away.
Let's see, start your video. There you go.
Wow.
Grandson calls me the mad scientist.
Okay.
Okay. A020037, Michael Nardi. This is an application that I believe we opened but have not heard. And the applicant requests an adjournment to 7/28/21.
What's the reason for the adjournment?
I can just offer that I did have an opportunity to talk with the landowners consultant at length about my recommendations for project modifications. They simply indicated that they would take that back to the landowner. They would take additional time to give consideration to practicable alternatives, and then they would report back to me. So as I have not heard back from them since then, I expect they're looking for just additional time to evaluate options.
Is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak on this application?
Motion to adjourn to 7/28/21.
I see no hands.
Second,
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
aye,
A 020038, Diane Ardolino. And who is here for Diane?
Diana does tonight.
Yes.
Hi, this is Diane Ardolino.
Oh,
I have
okay.
the survey to show. My computer just, my server stopped, so just give me a chance to get back on and I'll put up the survey.
Karina, I think you're muted. Maybe we might have heard. I saw your mouth moving.
I'm gonna put the survey up. I'm just trying to get it.
Okay.
As the board may recall, we discussed this last meeting and there was some discussion about the turnoffs. And there was some public involvement too. And the record does show letters that have come in since the last meeting in regard to the turnoffs for two-way traffic.
This is a continuation of the conversation that we had on April 28th, and there was also a few other concerns raised by the public in regards to the amount of gravel being used and dust and maintenance on the road. But we do have further clarification from that from the road department, the engineering department. There's a survey once Karina gets it up that shows the proposed pull-offs now. On the north side of the road, there's only going to be 2 of those opposed to the original 4. And then in regards to the question for the graveling all the way down the road, the road review, after clarification, had said that they initially only proposed to gravel the shoulder and the pull-off, not the entire road. So there was miscommunication on that. We had read incorrectly. So I believe that eliminates our concern for the amount of gravel and, damage to the wildlife and anything else pertaining to the amount of gravel to be put down. As far as the shoulders, the survey is up. We can go over those again, but the proposed areas, we're okay with the road review and with Marty Shea from Conservation. Those are them.
So I can offer an update as well. After the last hearing on this project, I contacted the engineering office to make them aware of the various issues and concerns that were raised at the hearing, both by board members and neighbors who share access rights to this road. And as indicated by Diane, the project plans have been scaled back considerably in response to those concerns, so that improvements are no longer being proposed or required for the roadway itself. The only thing that will need to be done is the town needs to ensure that there's sufficient vertical clearance for emergency vehicles. So where any tree branches extend below 14 feet, those branches will need to be trimmed back. And based upon my observations, I think we're just talking about a few branches on a couple oak trees. The engineering office and road review advisory committee had looked favorably upon the recommended practicable alternatives that both Diane and I had put forward, such that the first pull-off area would be created on the upland side of the road, where previously the pull-offs had been planned in wetland areas. There is very little vegetation that would need to be disturbed to create that first pull-off. The second pull-off, again, would be created in front of Diane's vacant property, where the board has issued a wetlands permit for construction of a single family residence. Again, that pull-off would be constructed on the upland side of the road and would only entail minimal grade modifications and minimal additional clearing of natural vegetation. So the road is not going to be widened. The road is not going to be elevated. As you recall, there were some environmental concerns that were expressed in the event that the road had to be elevated. So the road will not be changed. The placement of bluestone, which was of some concern because of the possible dust that might be generated with associated health and environmental impacts, will be confined to the pull-off areas. So it doesn't pose the risk of significant impacts to wetlands or the environment now. A question had been raised at the last hearing with regards to the long-term responsibility for maintenance of these improvements. The engineering office and road advisory board has reported back that in the event that some work is needed in the future to maintain those pull-off areas, those expenses would be shared by all those who have legal access rights to this road. Now, there is some concern that while the road is not going to be modified, that the construction equipment may cause some damage, some rutting to the road. So I do recommend that any wetland permit be conditioned upon the applicant making any necessary grade repairs to that road in the event that the heavy construction vehicles cause excessive rutting. We're not talking about widening the road, just slightly grading the road so that it continues to be passable. In the event that construction access causes some disturbance to natural vegetation alongside the road, as has been a policy in recent years, the permit can be conditioned upon native revegetation in those disturbance areas. Even though I don't anticipate that there will be significant damage to natural vegetation, Diane has also agreed prior to the commencement of the construction of the pull-off areas to have a licensed surveyor return to the site and stake the location of those shoulder pull-offs. She is likewise going to have a surveyor restake the allowable limits of site disturbance and clearing on our building lot as well. and is amenable to installing project limiting fences on her property to ensure that there is no future encroachment. At the last hearing, I think I had also mentioned that there were some private items that needed to be removed from the town preserved lands, not only adjacent to our building lot, but on the south side of the road. I'm happy to report that Diane has removed those items. I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the neighboring property owners prior to the meeting tonight, the Wilsons, to give them an update on how the project plans have been scaled back, and that I advised her that we are doing everything possible to minimize the environmental impacts of this project. And I think the project plans that are before you tonight are exceptional with regards to alleviating the environmental issues and concerns that have been expressed. I am happy that the Road Advisory Committee responded well to the concerns of the Conservation Board and the neighbors. And I think now that the project has been scaled back, I think these plans are acceptable and can be approved. And I do recommend that the public hearing be closed tonight. We may have a neighbor that wants to speak at the hearing tonight, Charles. If you just want to check, Annalee Wilson may want to speak.
She's here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you put your video on?
I'll put my video on. Oh, thank you. What video?
Yeah, there you go. Got it? Yeah.
Yep, there I are.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so we're pleased that this road is not going to be significantly altered, and that it's been scaled back because it's a country road and it needs to remain that way. I have one thing I just want to say is that, and I think this may have been said at the last hearing, but I want to make sure that we have access to our property. I'm speaking for myself, but my husband, but I'm sure others feel the same way. So I would like to have notification if there's going to be any problem where we can't pass on this road, or if it's going to be closed for any significant amount of time. And also, I'd just like to impress upon Ms. Ardolino that this is a big project, and we want to make sure she sees it through.
The intentions are to see it through, and if we can give reasonable notice to everyone on the road as to what we're doing and how it's coming in, and if it's going to disturb the neighbors, I will absolutely do so. Not a problem. If the conditions allow whatever whatever's happening. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm assuming this is at the end of the project, or I don't know how this would work. Like, when do the cutaways get created? When does the road get graded?
Well, as far as the road being graded, it's going to be determined on the damage from the construction vehicles, etc. So I would believe that would be one of the last steps. to now, fix any potholes or ruts or anything caused by the construction trucks and crews coming in. For the pull-off, I would like to do that or see that done towards the front of the project because I believe that would help with the construction vehicles and the trucks coming in for material.
Okay, so I assume at the end of the project, just to double check on those gravelled areas, because from what Marty Shea said, it sounds like we're going to have to all share in the repair of that, which is something I didn't expect.
I believe that's the current model on the road. But yes, those will be towards the end of the project, the pull-off, or the one pull-off on the very end of the road. The shoulder in front of my property should be near the front of the project so that we can utilize that space instead of the side of the road or, anywhere else so that we can utilize that space for construction vehicles.
Just for clarification, the cost of the pull-off creation and any work associated with that will be borne by Ms. Ortolino. When I spoke about possible shared costs, I was talking about long-term. In the event, many years from now, let's say some additional gravel needs to be put down, then those expenses would likely be shared by all those who have access rights to this road. But as we're no longer looking at improvements to the larger road, it is my hope that any such long-term maintenance cost would be minimal.
Agreed.
Anybody else?
I have no more to say, so good.
Okay, is there anyone else in the public who'd like to speak in this application?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. It's much appreciated.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, bye.
Good night.
And next is a discussion on a wetland permit modification application, CB 18051, Michael Tessitore.
I'll
Because
have
this
to-
is,
Go ahead, sorry.
so go ahead. I was just going to say that you have to recuse yourself, which you were about to do.
Obviously, I have to recuse myself because this is my application, but I did not have time to have my attorney present today, so I will be sitting in case I have to speak on half of my own application. Is that okay, Kelly?
You are permitted to sit in. It's up to the board whether they want to allow you to speak, to comment. The board generally does not allow discussion on the modifications, but if the board needs information, then they have discretion to ask you any questions or request any information that they need.
So with that, Marty, would you present?
Okay. All right, I'm happy to proceed. Michael Tessitore has submitted a wetland permit modification for his property in East Quogue. Property is situated alongside a freshwater creek and freshwater wetlands. I put this item on for discussion tonight so that I could get some guidance from the board as to how to proceed. The application has been made because Mr. Testuri is seeking to modify a prior Conservation Board wetlands permit that was issued in 2018. That permit had legalized the construction of a shed, had allowed for regrading portions of the drive, had permitted building of a porch and deck addition. The permit also authorized abandonment of the sanitary system and installation of an IAOWTS. The permit was conditioned upon the landowner maintaining the existing covenanted naturally vegetated wetland non-disturbance buffer. The modification application has been made because the applicant is seeking to have his permit modified in order to construct a swimming pool on the property. Karina Gori has put on the screen a copy of his drawing. The pool, which would be a circular pool, would be located approximately 24 feet from wetlands. The existing buffer on the property ranges in width from about 3 feet to 25 feet. So I had indicated to the applicant early on when I was made aware of the plans to construct a pool. I had expressed that I didn't think that the project was eligible for a modification. Nonetheless, the applicant filed the wetland permit modification, resulting in issuance of notice of incomplete application by my office. Karina provided copies of the notice incomplete application. In submitting this application, the landowner is requesting relief from several sections of the code. The first section is 325-12, which addresses renewals and modifications. There is language in there that indicates that an activity is only eligible if it will not result in new adverse wetland impacts, as the previously authorized activities, with the exception of the shed, are at greater setbacks, and the pool would only be 24 feet from wetlands rather than at the required setback of 100 feet. I would offer that the construction of the pool poses the potential for adverse wetland impacts, and as such, a full Conservation Board wetland permit application should be filed. The second, I should offer, and the applicant can speak to this, but he disagrees with that determination and feels that the installation of the pool will not result in wetland impacts. The second section that the applicant is seeking relief from, as discussed, is he's asking for lesser wetland construction and buffer setbacks. The minimum required wetland building setbacks for existing developed properties pursuant to section 325-9 is 100 feet. The minimum required buffer is 75 feet. Again, The applicant is seeking approval of construction at 24 feet, and the buffer at its maximum would be 25 feet rather than the required 75 feet. Thirdly, the applicant is seeking relief from section 325-7, which speaks to the wetland permit application requirements. You'll note in my notice and complete application, I had requested that the applicant have the pool and the fence shown on a updated survey for the property, as currently the plan that you're seeing is simply a marked up plan by the applicant. The policy of my office is not to accept marked up surveys because, as noted in the language of on the survey, any alteration of that survey can be a violation of the state education law. So I have simply requested that the applicant have the survey revised to show the pool and the fence line. He has indicated in his response to my notice and complete application dated May 10, 2021, that I have no authority to request a survey as part of the application submittal, that only the board has such authority. And he also contends that a survey is not needed for the purposes of application review. The applicant is also seeking relief from section 325-8, which are the procedures for application review. Specifically, I have advised the applicant that because he's seeking significant relief from the minimum required wetland construction and buffer setbacks, that I would be recommending that a public hearing be held. The applicant contends that a hearing is not necessary in order for the board to make a determination on this application. And lastly, the applicant is seeking relief from section 325-13, which sets the application fees as established by the town board. The issue is that when I recently inspected the property, I found that the split rail fence, which is shown as proposed on the drawing, has already been installed, consistent with our requirements that we hold other applicants to. When an application is filed, partially legalize any construction that has been completed without requisite wetland permits, in addition to the standard application fee as per the town board authorized fee schedule. A legalization penalty fee has to be paid. The applicant has not paid that fee as part of his application. You should have a copy of the May 10th, 2021 response from Encon Solutions, in which the applicant expresses concerns regarding my notice of incomplete application. And to quote his statement at the end of the letter, he said that he requests that his application go before the Conservation Board immediately and without any further delays or obstruction to be modified. So I need guidance as to whether or not the board wants to accept this application as a wetland permit modification. Second, whether or not the board feels the need to schedule a hearing for this application. I also need guidance as to whether or not the board feels that a survey needs to be provided to deem the application complete. And the matter of the requisite fee is really a matter that's decided by the town board, but I'm looking for guidance on that as well. And then, you know, in the event that the board wants to accept this modification as is, I would, you know, I'm here to listen to the board to see whether or not the board wants to make a determination on this application at this time, or whether or not the board wants to schedule a public hearing or complete a preliminary review and then schedule the application for a decision at the following meeting. Because I need the board's guidance with regards to how to move ahead with this application. I have not drafted a resolution related to this application for this meeting, but of course it is within the board's authority to verbally address the needed resolution. Again, the applicant is with us here tonight, and I'm sure he'd be happy to speak to his application and answer any questions that board members might have. Thank you. And lastly, I should mention that I did contact the applicant prior to inspecting his property. So he was aware that I visited his property. Immediately thereafterwards, the applicant spoke to me on the phone, at which time I indicated that I would be issuing a notice of incomplete application. If the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And again, the applicant is here to speak to his application tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. So we need to start. There's a lot of things going on here, and it's important to move through in a sequence that makes some sense. So the first question that I believe we need to answer as a board is this application fitting to be a modification? The town
I need some clarification. I may have missed the point. Is this an above ground pool or?
Yes, it's an above ground pool and it's a saltwater pool.
It's an above ground saltwater pool.
And
yeah, I should also, if I could just offer some additional information. Yes, I can confirm that a saltwater pool is proposed and would be an above ground vinyl pool. I had indicated, I think, in my notice of incomplete application that I wanted his plans to show a dry well for the pool. The applicant has since indicated that the pool would be discharged to the IAOWTS, which raises concern on my part as to whether or not the discharge of salt water and any minimal amounts of chlorine produced by a saltwater pool would have an impact on the nitrogen fixing bacteria in the IAOWTS. Thank you.
And Marty, I can't read the survey. It's so small on my screen, but can you determine what the diameter of the pool is?
Let me just pull his application. Okay, the application indicates that the diameter, and Mr. Tessitore can correct me if I'm wrong, would be 18 feet and 54 inches, and it would be above ground.
How deep?
18 feet round, 54 inches tall.
Oh, okay, thank you.
54 inches tall.
As far as can I speak on the IA system? Is that okay?
Wait, just a minute, Michael. We need to work through this process. We know what is applied for now. Now, let's look at the law because we need to be guided by the law. And for the benefit of the board that may not return to the law, I would like to read the relevant part that determines whether this is an appropriate modification. And I'm going to read Chapter 325-12, and the title is Renewal, Modification, Transfer, Suspension, or Revocation of Permits. So upon written request filed at least 30 days prior to the expiration date of the permit, and if this complies with that, issued permit of this chapter, the applicant shall be entitled to apply for modification of the existing permit. And that's what he's doing. Now, here are the conditions. If the approving authority finds that there has been no change in the natural or physical conditions or characteristics of the project site, which would warrant reconsideration of the permit, and if the proposed, that's one. And the second is if the proposed modifications will not result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands. And then it says, in addition, any wetlands permit or any extension thereof issued pursuant to Town Code Chapter 175, Wetlands, repealed on August 13th, 1993, may be renewed at the discretion of the Conservation Board, and that is not even relevant here. So the relevant parts of the law, it's clear that it's timely. I have not heard any testimony that suggests that there's been a change in the natural or physical conditions or characteristics of the project site. It's not a site that is begging to change. I've been there and it doesn't look like it's something that's not stable. It looks very stable. So unless there's some testimony to the contrary, it would seem that that is not going to be a barrier to allowing for an application for a modification. So the application for the modification hinges on one clause of the code, and that is, will the proposed modification result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands? That's the question I believe we need to answer, and that answer will tell us whether this modification application is appropriate or not. And Kelly, if you could just chime in, if there's something you want to say to it, add, or say something that I said that maybe need to be corrected, you're welcome to jump in.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I agree with everything you said. It really comes down to whether the first thing you need to decide is whether this is eligible for modification, because that will determine how to proceed, whether a hearing is required or not required. So that's the first thing you have to determine. And it really does come down to the code you just read, whether the proposed modifications will not result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands. That is what the board has to decide.
So we're focusing in on adverse impacts to the wetland.
Correct.
It's an above-ground pool, approximately 4 feet tall, probably to be used predominantly by his children, and it's salt water. I'm having a hard time seeing adverse impacts here.
It is a temporary structure. The 54 inches, my understanding of this type of pool is that the structure is 54 inches tall, but it's designed to only carry 4 feet of water. I believe there's supposed to be a lip there of 6 inches above the water before it would overflow.
If I may, the pool does not comply with the required minimum construction and buffer setbacks in the wetland permit issuance standards set forth in the code. Those setbacks and buffer requirements were put in the code based upon scientific research with regards to minimal buffers that are needed to protect wetland values and benefits. That being said, it has been the board's policy where an applicant is proposing additional work on a property at significantly lesser wetland setbacks than previously approved pursuant to the wetland. And in contrast to the required setbacks and buffers as per code, to require that a new Conservation Board wetland permit application be submitted rather than entertain a permit modification. I'm simply looking to ask the applicant to adhere to the same requirements and standards that are applied to other applicants that come before this board.
There is some truth in what you say, Marty. We have asked questions pertaining to those standards when a modification comes. One of the tests is the modification project within the scope of the approved project. That is there anything closer to the wetlands, or is it more landward of the wetland, or is it a modification that makes the project smaller? Those are some of the questions we've asked in the past with applications.
The only aspect of the previously authorized Conservation Board wetland permit that allowed for construction closer is the board had elected to legalize a shed. You see in the northerly portion of the property that sits alongside the buffer and the wetlands. The other activities that were authorized, and I'm reading off the permit here, were located at least 40 feet landward of wetlands. So the pool is not being proposed within the footprint of a previously authorized structure and would be significantly closer than the significant construction that was previously authorized. I should also mention that if you look at the permit, there's a typographical error in the permit. The face of the permit says that it was issued and expired on October 1st, 2018. In our notice of incomplete application, we have, of course, indicated to the applicant that that was a clerical error and that corrected permit will be issued, which would then keep this present permit valid until actually early next year. The town board had adopted a COVID policy whereby if you had a valid permit during the spring and summer months of last year. You get an automatic additional 6 months that are tacked on to your permit expiration date. So that would, rather than set as expiration date October 1st, 2018, that would mean that its expiration date now actually would be April 1st, 2022. So he does have a valid permit, but I wanted to bring to your attention that there is a typographical error in the expiration date on that permit. And I mentioned that because the applicant had mentioned that in his response to my notice of incomplete application. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get back to the code. The question is there, will this proposed modification result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands? Because it is closer to the wetlands than the permitted two-story house, it does, on the face of it, seem problematic.
I speak to that.
Whereas if that pool was proposed, how can I describe this? If you can just visualize moving that blue circle to the right near the red line, between the house and the red line by the driveway, then the house is in between the proposed project, proposed modification, and the wetlands. Then it's a little different. But Michael, is that a possibility?
There was a play set where I'm proposing the pool, which was part of my original application. The play set will be removed and a pool will be put in that area anyway. There's already an established buffer on the property, and that place, and the pool would be outside of that buffer.
So you're just replacing one permitted structure with another.
Yes, sir. And I have photos I can share my screen with if you want to see them.
So what was the permitted structure there?
A kid's play set, a two-story play set, one of those big giant wood structures.
Okay. Okay, that makes it a little more complicated then.
I agree with George's prior statement. I'm having a little trouble seeing where this is such a big deal.
And how many neighbors do you have in this area? I think that you only have 2 neighbors that approximate the property. One of which I think you helped get a wetland permit for. And the other one is across the road, if I remember correctly. To the east, it would be to the east.
Yeah, that was new construction to the east.
Right. Other than that, I don't see, any neighbors within a proximity of your house that would necessitate a public hearing unless we get, we could give your neighbor a call and find out if he has any problems with this. But a public hearing, I don't know if we have to go that route.
Well, we're not at the public hearing yet. Right now, let's determine if this modification will result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands.
Well, when we have a pool like this that doesn't meet the required setbacks, in the past, we've looked for extended, mitigation. And
go ahead.
I think we already have the mitigation on this property.
The fact that it's replacing an existing permitted structure would suggest that there is mitigation already, and that maybe this doesn't provide any new adverse impacts.
Well, he's got an IA system as well. I don't believe that was required in his original permit, was it?
No.
No.
Just for the board's information, based upon my inspection, there is no playground equipment in the planned pool location.
Yeah, because I took it down.
Marty, would you clarify that? Are you saying that in the permit that is seeking to be modified, there is no playground equipment in the plan?
No, I had indicated that when I inspected the property, I did not see any playground equipment where the pool is proposed. I'm looking at a copy of Conservation Board Wetland Permit 18051 that was issued October 1st, 2018. And I don't see where this permit authorized the installation of playground equipment.
Must be another typo. Can I address this by sharing my screen? Because there was a playset there, and that was part of the original permit. And maybe it wasn't put in the permit, but that playset was always there. And I just removed it last week. And I have photos of it showing that that playset was there.
The question is not whether it's there or not. The question is what is permitted. What is on the permit that last was permitted by this board?
It's been there for 10 years, Harry, that playset. And it was part of my original application. It just obviously didn't make it into the description, possibly. But Marty knew about that playset.
So are you saying that the playset should have been on the survey because it was there?
Yes. It's a temporary structure. It's a playset. Nobody puts a playset on a survey.
And the pool is a temporary structure too.
Because it's above ground, correct?
Just so the board knows, neither the building nor environment divisions consider above ground pools to be temporary structures. They are considered to be permanent structures.
Does it actually state that?
We on an everyday basis require building and wetland permits for above ground pools. I have never heard a code interpretation that directs us to consider above ground pools to be temporary. Their structures as such, they require permits, both building and wetland permits.
Well, the definition in the zoning code for swimming pool says any structure intended for swimming or recreational bathing that contains water over 24 inches deep. This includes in-ground, above ground, and on-ground swimming pools, hot tubs, and spas.
That's why I'm here seeking a permit. Playsets don't need one.
I'm not seeing the big issue. Maybe the drainage into the IA system of salt water may be something that needs to be looked at or at least explained to me. But
I would love to explain that if I may.
Yeah, let me add something, Michael, please, before you say that. I don't see a big problem with the above ground pool. And I'm trying to look at the big picture here of what's been done already. And I know this is not, the IA system is not part of this modification, but I can't deny that we have an IA system on the property. And that's a big deal to me. And I think should be a big deal to the board. So if there's some sort of way of containing the discharge, I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem with it.
Michael, talk to us about the discharge, the IA system.
So Marty requested that when he asked for a survey and said that me marking up the survey wasn't good enough, I would need to get a new one. He requested that I also put a dry well on the survey as a proposal. Dry wells on this property just, it doesn't make any sense. I have 10 cesspools, 5 split in a Y, and I wouldn't go in the IA system. I would utilize the access port from the distribution box into those 10 pools if I ever had to drain my pool. It's a non-issue. If I ever had to drain that pool, which is salt and water, and it's only chlorinated when it's going through the ozonator, I can utilize that IA system.
So you're saying, Michael, that the water is not going to be going through the leaching field, but just like an old septic tank, just a regular septic tank.
It would kill the bacteria if I put it through the IA system itself and make it useless. It would actually just go right into those dry wells that I have.
Oh, so you'd bypass the IA system and go right to the leaching.
Yeah, the distribution box is set off in between the septic rings and the septic box.
So that
He's not going to the leaching, he's going right to the pool.
Right, and I spoke to Norweco about it, and they said it was fine. They were at my house today. I have like the number 2 system in the county right now.
They wouldn't be willing to put a letter in the file, would they?
Yeah, they would.
Then I have no problem with it.
Well, and we can get a letter or not. When the concept is that he's essentially using the leaching pools just like a dry well, except they're much bigger, more of them, so it's more capacity. So just the concept of it is clean because it's beyond the IA system, so they can't, unless it backs up, and it can't back up. There wouldn't be any impact from that.
That's not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Michael, I have a question. You're making the pool salt water and you have freshwater wetlands. Can any of that salt water seep in and affect the freshwater wetlands or no?
I actually have brackish water. It's salt water and fresh water.
Okay, next item.
What I'm hearing from the board is that there is this project will not result in any new adverse impacts to the wetlands. So if we determine that, then the next step is the public hearing aspect. Now, one reason for a public hearing, the reason for a public hearing is to get more information. So do we need more information on this project? Or is there public interest? Was there a public hearing on the original permit?
Yes.
Did anyone from the public speak?
I don't remember anybody speaking about it.
No.
Is there any indication by anyone to think that there might be public interest on this application?
No.
Okay. So I want to just summarize what I believe I've heard from the board in various stages. That you believe that this is a project that warrants a modification, that it does not warrant a public hearing. Therefore, the public hearing requirement can be waived. There is another issue, and that is that Marty noticed that a legalization fee needs to be paid for an already installed fence around the IA system.
That is something that's in the town code. I do not see anything that would give the board any authority to waive that fee.
I speak on that. I
Uh,
have no problem paying the fee. I never said that I did not have that I had an issue paying the fee. What the original issue happened is that my permit was issued and expired on the same date. And that's why I requested this discussion with the board so that permit can be amended on the record. I have no problem paying the fee.
Okay, next is whether he can mark up the survey, and we let people do that all the time. I don't see that's a problem. He's gonna give us it on the survey before the permit is actually released to him, so.
there's a little, there is a difference. When people present their plans to us, it's usually not marking up a survey because it can be problematic, but it is usually a rendition of it in some planner's office or some landscape office. And we don't require a survey for every rendition of the plan.
We get landscaping designs that are not stamped surveys that have dimensions on them and conform with what the permit says the
Yes,
project is, and
that's
it's no
perfectly
different.
okay. Yeah, Marty brought up a little different point. I think it's a technicality, and I think it's real, but it's also a long shot. I think it would have been better to cross out that stuff that says there's a survey on there and just remove all evidence that it was a survey and just mark it up. But it's a very small markup, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of significance except more of the academic significance. So the guidance that I believe we're giving Marty is to accept this modification application and waive the public hearing and require a legalization fee for the fence. Were there any other issues on this application?
So just so I understand, there will be no further opportunity as part of the record to address potential for adverse wetland impacts, nor will you be requiring a survey in order for a modified permit to be issued? Or are you saying a survey that this information needs to be shown on a survey?
It needs to be shown on a survey. We always do that.
The time the permit's released or whichever, he needs to give us a
Yeah.
survey, but yes, that's fine.
I do want to ask you, Michael, if you had considered putting the pool where I spoke about earlier. I'm trying to see where it is on your survey. Yeah, just on this survey, just on the upper part of the survey, between your porch, yeah, right, somewhere in there. Is that a place that could work for you, Michael?
Can't get it in that space. It's too close to the house.
Okay. And what is that curved line near the corner of the house? Put your cursor up there and I can confirm what I'm talking about. That line right there. All right, that's, yeah, what is that line right there?
That's Belgian block, and the red line's where the fence is now.
Okay, so you're
Gotta
saying,
put that fence in to protect that IA system.
okay, so you're saying that there's not enough space between the house and the fence. to
No,
put-
sir. As small of a pool it is, it's an 18-foot round pool. There's no way to get around it or get to it.
Okay,
And I can't put it on the IA system because it's sloped.
okay. Is there any opportunity to move it, where are we, east a few feet? Oh, you're muted. Mike, yeah.
To the east,
Yeah, can you move it a few feet to the east? It would increase the
that'd be
wetlands.
up, right?
Yes,
The only problem is that it would be slammed up against the house.
oh, I don't mean that far.
And then you wouldn't, it's very minimal distance. It's just enough to get a lawnmower through if I move it up. There is a buffer there. The buffer is usually what determines the line of, my yard. I already have a buffer. I'm trying to utilize my land that is outside of that buffer.
Okay. Okay, so I've said a few things. I'm looking for a confirmation from the board because we haven't had that opportunity yet to just confirm what I've said or make some alterations.
I think you summarized pretty well the statements that have been made by various board members. I mean, I myself feel that we should allow this swimming pool there, saltwater swimming pool. He's got plenty of mitigation with the IA system.
There's already a structure there to begin with, even though it's not a permitted structure as being placed at. That's a pretty big thing.
Okay,
And the
so-
the survey isn't the issue, and he's willing to pay the legalization fee. We've covered everything.
okay, so this application, this has been on for a discussion, for clarity for Marty to give him some direction on how to proceed. Marty, are there any more questions?
My question is for clarification. Did the board just make a decision on this application? Are you instructing Karina and I to follow up with a resolution of approval now that you have discussed the application?
We should go through the normal modification process where you write a report. You accept this as a modification and you write a report.
I should offer that I don't typically write reports for modification applications because modification activities eligible for modifications when they're not going to result in adverse wetland impacts. Clearly, the approval of a pool significantly closer than the setback size required by code without the required buffer is going to result in significant adverse impacts. So if you're asking for me to prepare a report, I will prepare a report that recommends denial of this application. However, the board has already decided that this is eligible for a modification, and that it will not result in any adverse impacts. So I'm not seeing the reason for a report. it sounds to me like the board has already made their decision on this application. And if such is the case, the board may elect to proceed with making a verbal determination on this application at this time. And that information will be utilized for the purposes of drafting a conditional approval of the modification, which if the board so desires, that resolution will be issued to the landowner tomorrow or Friday. So my question is, I'm hearing that the board has already decided that they want to approve this application. So is the board looking to make a decision tonight then? Or despite notwithstanding this discussion, is the board looking to put this application on for another meeting, or is the board directing me to prepare a resolution of conditional approval for the next meeting? I just need very specific guidance as to how to proceed, because it's not customary for the board to proceed in this matter. Thank you.
I would make a motion to direct staff to prepare the resolution of conditional approval based on the facts that we discussed at this discussion.
All right, thank you. I will do that. And the resolution of conditional approval will go before the board at the next meeting. If the majority of board members wants to see me prepare such resolution, I will do that.
So motion made.
If anyone, we don't need to vote on that. I don't think, just a discussion, but if anyone does not want that to happen, this is the time to speak up. Okay, so this discussion has concluded.
All right, thank you.
We'll move on to the advisory report, section 292-39B, referral, Fisher Organization Subdivision.
Just give me a minute to
Sure, take your time.
pull the advisory report. All right, Morty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. This is actually 292-39B referral for final conditional subdivision approval for property that's regulated under the wetlands law. The resolution before you does indicate that the draft conditions of final approval do require conformance with the minimum wetland construction setbacks, and thus is consistent with the provisions of chapter 325. So the memorandum is advising the planning board that you're in agreement with the draft conditions of approval.
Any discussion? Excuse me. Okay, yeah, is there any more discussion?
Closed and staff comments.
Well, no, we're moving to
Oh, I'm sorry.
to approve the draft conditions of final approval.
I'm sorry, I worded that wrong. Motion to approve the draft conditions.
Second.
Resolved that the Conservation Board hereby approves the draft conditions of final approval for the subdivision of the Fisher Organization, which were referred by the Planning Board to the Conservation Board on May 6, 2021. All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann? George?
Aye.
And just to correct the record, That was a resolution they acted on. I had said that it was a memo. It's actually a resolution. So thank you.
Okay. And now advisory report to the planning board, Burke subdivision.
This referral relates to a pending subdivision application before the planning board for existing residentially developed property situated on Noack Road in the hamlet of Noack. As indicated in the recommended advisory comments, subdivision approval is being sought to construct 13 multiple family dwelling units on this property, inclusive of 2 community benefit units. The existing residence, which you see on the survey or site plan, would be converted to a manor house containing 5 of these units. Property is situated within the Aquifer Protection Overlay District and the town high priority water quality improvement zone. The comments indicate, as shown on the site plan or survey, that the property is marked by very significant grove of white pines along Noack Road and along the side lot lines. There is also an array of large eastern red cedar trees along the driveway. Plans show that these existing trees would be preserved. The recommended advisory comments note that no wetlands permit is required for this planned redevelopment. It also recommends that innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment units be installed to service these multiple dwelling units, as the property again is located within the town's high priority water quality improvement zone.
Is there a motion to send these comments to the planning board?
So moved.
Okay.
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
All right,
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George. 890 Scuttle Hole Road subdivision application.
This referral relates to property on Noack Path and Scuttle Hole Road in the hamlet of Bridgehampton. It's a subdivision application. Comments indicate that the application has been made in order to legalize and an authorized subdivision of a pre-existing residentially developed lot into 4 agricultural lots, as well as to obtain authorization further subdivide the tract to create a second residential lot. There's also a need to reconfigure the lot lines consistent with the meets and bounds described in the deed purchasing the development rights from the farmland. Comments also indicate that the tract is located adjacent to a natural drainage area, but indicates that there's no reason to delineate the wetland boundaries associated with that drainage area, as that portion of the tract will be unaffected by this project. The comments go on further to make mention that any future construction on this property would be located greater than 200 feet from the town regulated wetlands, and as such wetlands permit would be needed. However, technically a section 292-39B referral is warranted. And the last comment simply indicates that the Conservation Board is supportive of this subdivision plan, as nearly 84 acres of the tract has already been reserved as farmland and open space.
Is there a motion to send these comments to the planning board?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
For the ZBA, 80 Cobb Owner LLC.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed property as indicated in the hamlet of Watermill. The recommended advisory comments indicate that the property contains town and state regulated tidal wetlands associated with Burnett's Creek and the greater Mecox Bay system. It indicates that I had issued an administrative, two administrative wetland permits for this property that authorized the plan demolition and redevelopment of the site. It goes on further to note that the survey that has been submitted with the pending variance application is consistent with the wetland permits that I issued. However, the applicant may need to seek a modified administrative wetland permit to address front access steps and to indicate that any wire fence within the covenanted buffer will be removed. And then lastly, as is customary for variance applications, the advisory report indicates that no determination has been made with regards to the compatibility of the requested relief with the variance issuance standards as set forth in the town building and zoning code. Thank you.
Motion to send the comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Tom, Ann,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Ralph and Mia Petrillo.
This application relates to existing residentially developed property on East Beach Drive in the hamlet of North Sea. Recommended advisory comments that acknowledges that the property fronts on Little Peconic Bay and Woolly Pond, which is part of the larger federally recognized Peconic Estuary System. Second comment provides a history in terms of a conditional approval granted by the board for demolition of the existing residence, abandonment of the septic system and building of a new residence coupled with installation of an IAOWTS. The third comment indicates that the survey that has been filed with the variance application is consistent with the survey conditionally approved by the board. And the last comment simply acknowledges that the variance issuance standards as set forth in the town building and zoning code have not been considered as part of these comments.
Is there a motion to send these comments to the ZBA?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
The administrative wetland permits are in your packets. Resolution of conditional approval, CB 1400035 River Rock Structured Capital LLC. Any discussion?
Move to issue.
Second.
Resolved that a wetlands permit modification be issued to River Rock Structural Capital LLC for the proposed project by the terms and conditions set forth therein. All in favor? Harry, I. Jerry,
Aye.
Michael,
No.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Preliminary review of signature determination, A 021007, Anthony Guarachi.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed property located at 4th Street in the hamlet of Flanders. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated May 10, 2021. The planned activities are type 2 action and as such are not subject to seeker. The application needed to be filed because the landowner needs to get approval in order to reconstruct storm damaged accessory bonds and buildings on the property. The applicant contends that a severe storm resulted in the toppling of large trees on the adjacent county-owned lands, which fell on and severely damaged the pre-existing shed and barn structures. The advisory report provides a history in terms of prior permits and COs that were issued for pre-existing structures. The applicant thought that because there was prehistory of permits and COs, that in the event of storm damage, he could replace the destroyed structures without having to file for building and wetland permits. When the work was commenced, a notice violation was issued to the landowner. Although the property is adjacent to freshwater wetlands on the county-owned lands to the north, the county property is separated from the subject property by a chain link fence. Within the bounds of the county parcel between the fence and the freshwater wetlands are tremendous piles of fallen tree debris and significant litter. As the town has no authority to request that the landowner restore portions of the county property, the lack of such opportunity for reclamation and the absence of any natural vegetation on the county property between the wetlands and the subject property negates the ability for the applicant to provide any functional naturally vegetated buffer on this property, and also appears to negate the benefits of the applicant shifting these structures further away from wetlands. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing pursuant to chapter 325, section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor, Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
A 021037 Beachmont Partners LLC.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed property in the hamlet of Queog. The application has been filed in order to gain this board's approval to redevelop the site. As noted on the survey, property is marked by a corridor of freshwater wetlands along the western property line. The property also has bulkheaded frontage along Quantuck Bay to the south. I did have an opportunity to inspect the property and to have several pre-application meetings with the applicant, at which time we put forward a redevelopment plan that accommodates the minimum required wetland construction setbacks of 100 feet, as well as a 75-foot wide covenanted naturally vegetated wetland non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer along the west side of the property, but reduces the buffer requirement to 50 feet of naturally vegetated buffer along the bulkheaded waterfront. Based on my inspection and based upon the board's decision on similar properties in the area, I think this plan works well for the site. It certainly meets the standards for wetland permit issuance. As such, we have sufficient information to make a determination. I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to chapter 225, section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor, Harry, I, Jerry,
All right,
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
A021042 Fisher Organization LLC.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed property at the end of Royal Avenue. The property is mostly bulkheaded and has frontage on Reeves and Flanders Bay, as well as Royal Canal. There is an existing house that is in disrepair on the property. The applicant is seeking to demolish their residence and to redevelop the site to construct a new FEMA compliant two-story single-family residence elevated on pilings with minimal storage and garage with breakaway walls below the finished first floor. Because of the property's vulnerability to flooding, I have worked with the applicant and put forward a plan for maximized covenanted naturally vegetated buffers along the west, northerly and east sides of the property. The existing sanitary system is being abandoned. The applicant would also like approval for a rooftop deck and swimming pool. Because of its significant vertical elevation separation from the surrounding waters and the ground area, I don't think the installation of that pool on the rooftop of a second-story modern house will result in wetland impacts that are not being sufficiently mitigated by buffers. I had several pre-application meetings with the applicant, and recently I had a joint meeting with the project team at the site, at which time we settled upon the final plan that you're seeing here. There is a need for some minimal revisions to the survey. They show the rooftop pool, solar panels, pool equipment up top to show a second floor balcony atop the plan, first floor attached elevated deck, but the applicant has fully agreed to all the recommended wetland impact mitigation measures. As such, we have sufficient information to make a determination, and I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to chapter 325, section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor, Harry, I, Jerry,
all right,
Michael,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
A020049 John J. Sudam and Mary T. Sudam.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed bulkheaded property in the private community of Noyak Cottage Association in Noyak. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated May 11, 2021. The applicant is seeking a wetlands permit in order to construct a steel pier that would jut out into the bay. The pier would have additional amenities such as a boat lift, boat tie-off piles, to jet ski lifts. It would have electric and water supply connections. The applicant is looking to construct a modified composite deck, access stairs, and landings. There is existing waterside deck that's composite that needs to be legalized and or replaced with a potentially a smaller light penetrable deck structure. In looking at the northerly coastline of this property, this would be the first dock or pier that's planned along Bayfront. The action is classified as an unlisted action pursuant to seeker. My advisory report as that practicable alternatives be explored and provides a detailed description of the potential environmental impacts and wetland impacts that need to be addressed by this application. This is an application for which we need significant additional information to make a determination. As such, I'm recommending that a public hearing be held.
Motion to schedule a public hearing, but I don't know the date. Does anybody?
June 23rd.
June 23rd.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby schedules the public hearing for June 23rd, 2021, and the notice of public hearing be published in the town designated newspaper pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-8C of the Town Code. All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
And we're now at the conclusion of my agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So moved.
All in favor? Harry, aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Thank you all and have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you, Marty, Karina, Kelly, Charlie.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Super friendly. They just